Yikes, what a mess. It's transplant day in the Voodoo Garden. Does it look like I'm excited? Actually, I'm not excited about this. Normally, I love doing this kind of stuff, but today I just don't want to do it because I'm so enjoying the way that this plant looks right now. But I know that if I don't do this, it's not going to look like that for very long. Oh, by the way, I forgot. Welcome to the Voodoo Garden, everybody. My name is Ray. I am the host of this never-ending growing nonsense I lovingly call the Garden of Voo. This is a purple passion plant. You've seen it before, and you've seen its mother, its grandmother, yep, and its baby up here too, yeah. This one is the mother of that one, and yet that one, if you can see it clearly, it's grown out, it's grown up. It's actually every bit as big as this one. This started out as just 3 to 4 cuttings, little tiny cuttings that I placed into soil. Remember that? I did that, and it grew up, it grew out. I showed you how I make little cuttings into a full-blown plant. I did the exact same thing up there. Well, what I want to do with this is, remember I used to have really big plants in here, all kinds of big plants, and there's something on my glasses. Nope, it's not a fungus gnat. But I had all kinds of big plants in here. And then I decided to grow small. I did that series on how to show you how to grow in small spaces in case you have an apartment, you don't have a lot of room. Well, that was all fun. Now I'm going to go back the other way because I do enjoy small plants, but I really love having the large, beautiful specimens. And this one has the potential of being that specimen. So does that, but I don't have room for two because this is a very small room. Some people think it's actually bigger than it is. It's actually very small. I think it's like a 10 by 10 room, very, very small. And I don't have a lot of room because I ordered a lot of stuff. Yes, I did, for Christmas as my Christmas present to myself. I ordered a whole bunch of little starts for plants that'll be delivered in the spring. Some of them are outdoor, some of them are indoor, but they all have to be started in here in order to get their footing before they can go outside. Some are bushes, some are flowers, some are trees. I'll be showing you those when they come in, and I think it might be in the next month or so, whenever spring allows them to do it. But what I want to do is I want to divest myself of some of the plants I don't want to make room for those new ones that are coming in because I will need room. Also, I want to get this one done and over with before the new stuff comes in. So I didn't really feel like doing this, but I know that once the other ones come in, I'm not going to have time for this one. So I got to do it. Maybe if you're thinking about transplanting, I can give you a few tips that'll help you be a little bit more successful with it. In particular, vines. Yes, vines. You know, I'm kind of stumbling over my words today because I didn't plan on doing a program. I just planned on coming down here and dealing with this stuff. But I thought, you know what? Since I'm doing this, might as well have my friends down. So, have a seat over here. I'm going to show you what we have, what we're going to do, and then we're going to go ahead and do it, okay? First things first, blow away the fungus gnats. Pardon my fungus gnats. They really don't bother me. Some people they bother. For me, they don't. If they did, I would do something about them, but until they do, I really have no qualm with them. So I'm just going to let them do whatever fungus gnats do. Now, when I transplant a vine in particular, not just any plant, but only vines, what I like to do, preferably, is bury them a little bit deeper than they originally were in the pot. And the reason for that is, usually with vines, this will work with tomatoes, but I do it for indoor plants as well. Purple passion plant, or even this one, who I'm not going to do today. This is an English ivy. Those, wherever the vine touches the soil or gets buried, they will put down roots. So just like a tomato plant, if I bury some of these vines, the plant will get stronger as the buried vines put down roots. So when I put it into a pot, it'll grow roots out the sides and down from the soil over here, but also I can get more roots by burying some of the stems. That is an extra boost for helping your plant get acclimated into the soil and also to get stronger. So what I'm going to do is the tedious task of removing all leaves that are going to be buried underneath the soil, because any leaf that's buried with the vine will die. And as it rots and decomposes, it will rob the soil of nitrogen to help it decompose. And we don't want that to happen. I've spoken about this on my other channel, putting compost into the soil. You don't want to put any kind of living thing into the soil, otherwise as it decomposes, it'll rob the soil of nitrogen. Same thing with indoor plants. So anything that's going to possibly be underneath the soil has to go. That's why I got to take my time, go through here and take off some leaves. Also, I can take off some of these little starter vines and get rid of them. I can either root them somewhere else or just toss them. I know some people really want starters off my purple passion plant, but I just don't send plants through the mail. That's just not my way. So anything that might be buried underneath here, I'm going to have to snip off. And there are some new starts in here that I really don't want, so they got to go. Sorry, you got to go. And there's a fungus net trying to fly up my nose. I don't know why they want to fly up my nose. I just don't want them to do it. With the miracle of video editing, I have all the leaves off of the parts of the stems, whoops, except one, of the stems that I want to bury. Now comes the fun part. I moved off the rug because I don't want to get my rug all dirty. I'm going to have to get this out of the pot and get some soil into a new pot. What size pot to use? I guess that's all up to you. You can go for one size bigger, two sizes bigger, or you can just go crazy mondo and get a huge pot if you want. It doesn't really matter. I never subscribe to that way of thinking that you have to pot up to the next size in line, because what that does is it makes me have to repot more and more and more, and each time I do that, it's kind of a stress on the plant. So no, it'll eventually grow into its new larger container. Just like my mom used to tell me, Ray, you'll grow into your pants. You'd always buy my pants 5 sizes too long, cuff them under, and then sew them. And did your mom ever do that? It was ridiculous. I go to school and I have cuffed up pants. People are laughing at me, but she was right. I kind of grew into them, but by the time you uncuff them, you got those weird lines on them where it wore out, so it looks ridiculous. Okay, enough about Ray's pants. This is the size of pot that I want to use. Not the prettiest pot in the world, yet I don't really go with looks when it comes to pots. I just go for a nice looking plant because I enjoy looking at the plants, not so much looking at the pots. This would go nicely if I went like that. But as I said, I want to bury it. So what I'm going to have to do is maneuver these. You know, this actually works better with 2 people, but one person can do it. I'm going to take it about maybe halfway down, and then I see what's going to be underneath the soil, and then I can clip off a few more leaves. And when you do this with your vines, make sure that first of all, everything that's going to be buried, like leaves, is off of there. Second of all, do not water your plant the day before or a couple days before. You want the soil somewhat dry, because when you transplant, you want to water it. And if this is already wet and you water it, it's getting soaking wet. So I like to make sure they're dry. So I put in the potting soil. I water mostly around the middle and then a little bit on the sides. It goes through here and then underneath it and a little bit around the sides. It's perfectly watered. Also, you want to make sure that you hold on to this. We're going to do this right now. You can just hear how dry it is. First thing I want to do is pull the pot out, push it in. Pull the pot out, push it in. This is going to loosen the roots, the root balls somewhat, and I'm thinking that it probably has a relatively decent root ball if I did my homework right. I cradle it underneath here and then give it a good solid beat it into submission. Now that's a root ball. This is something that's a little bit root bound, but that's not going to harm it at all. We're going to set this aside. We're going to take some new soil. New fresh soil. Oh, I love this smell too. This is just standard potting mix, nothing special. Put a little in the bottom. Now if you have good potting mix, you won't have to feed your plants for a while. So that's also another thing you won't have to do. Oh, that looks good. Maybe just, no. Actually, you know what? No maybes about it. I think I did it right the first time. Now, one thing is that if your plant is a little bit root bound, don't go cutting up the root ball. That's just, well, you can. I just don't suggest it. That's just my point of view. I never really went into that, cutting up the root ball, because you're killing off some roots when you do that. I just never saw the benefit in it. All right. We're going to have a little bit buried, but not too awful much. This is relatively simple, and it's fun, and it's therapy for me. When I get my hands dirty, I get dirt under my nails, I'm around plants, I start feeling better. And I'm having computer issues in real life, so I do need a little bit of time away from the computer, away from the world of social media, and more time to myself. you may have noticed that I'm not putting out programs every week anymore. And that's okay. That's okay. It doesn't mean that I don't care. It just means that I'm spending a little bit more time with myself, the animals, recharging myself. You know, I fluctuate. Sometimes I put out a lot of programs. Sometimes I just put out a few. But I do it mainly to focus on myself. So it's not that I don't care or have anything to film. It's just I wanted to spend some time recharging. And my computer's acting up. It's being a butthead. So I wanted to get away from it. I figure if I don't have to look at it, I don't have to be bothered by it. Some of these stems are buried, some are not, and that's okay. What'll happen after a while is even the bare stems around the inside will start putting out new shoots. And so eventually this will fill up. You know, as we go, I want you to just stay tuned. Every now and then, I'll show you the purple passion transplant, and that way you can watch its progress and see how it does, and maybe hold off doing yours until you see the proof of what I talk about. Some people are really skittish when it comes to their plants and doing new things, and I totally understand that. Ooh, a root ball. I do recycle my soil. But anyway, they're a little skittish, and I understand that, so I don't blame you at all for wanting to wait and see. Have that wait and see attitude and see how mine does before you do yours. Tap, tap, tap. And there we go. You get some water. I start in the middle, work my way out in circles. Now this soil was dry, so I want to make sure I give it a good solid watering in the middle. Rinse the soil off of here. Go around the perimeter. I have a drip tray underneath, so if I water too much, it'll just go down there and I can empty it, but I very rarely do. I think I can probably count the amount of times on one hand where I've overwatered. I'm no genius. It's just I learn from mistakes. So in the last few years, I hardly ever overwater. I just go by feel. That feels full. I won't have to water this again probably for another 3 weeks. And that's it. It looks ridiculous, but then again, every time I transplant, it looks ridiculous. Kind of like the haircuts we used to get. We look ridiculous, but we'll grow into it. There is the purple passion plant. It is all set in a large enough pot to grow big and beautiful like its ancestors. The first one that I had in here was gorgeous. And I'm thinking, I'm willing to bet that this one is going to do its ancestors proud and become a large, beautiful plant in time. You're getting anxious to be seen, but you gotta wait. I got one more thing to talk to my friends about. These. The leaves that I cut off, no, nothing goes to, you know, that's the cool thing. With us, we waste things. Nature never wastes a thing. Nothing goes to waste in nature. Nothing at all. You can never name any kind of instance. There's a spider web on my hat. But you can never name an instance where anything goes to waste in nature. It's the coolest thing. Leaves that come off of this plant, what I can do, and what I have done before, is I just cut them up into small pieces, throw them in a bucket until I get a full bucket. Don't keep it covered. Let them dry out and get crunchy. And then if you have coffee grounds, take those, add it to the leaves, mix them up, put a lid on lightly or a cloth on lightly to keep any kind of fungus gnats out or any other kind of insects that want to lay eggs in it. Keep it downstairs in your voodoo room or in the basement or something. Every couple of days, just turn it. You want to make sure it gets oxygen, it stays slightly moist, and you know what? You'll be making compost in your basement. Do not put in eggshells, banana peels. This is not your regular compost, okay? This is called indoor compost. If you just take dried, crackly leaves, break them all up, and add coffee grounds and mix them up, it's not going to reek to high heaven if you make compost indoors. You know, I even have a program on how to do that. Yes, composting indoors with thin mints. Yes, you need thin mints in order to do this. You know what? I'm going to put a link below this program so that you can actually see how you compost with thin mints. Scroll down as soon as you're done to where it says show more. Click that. It'll open it up. Scroll to the very bottom, and I'm going to put a link. And you won't believe what kind of compost you can make with candy. Yes. I know, I didn't believe it either until I did it. Anyway, that is not wasting anything. So yes, you can recycle everything, and then when it's done or practically done, mix it in with your potting soil, mix it in, and you have fertilized potting soil from the scraps that you were going to throw away. Yep. This, we're getting to something fun. This monstrosity. It's a little monstrosity. It's my little voodoo monstrosity. This is an eggplant. Yes, it is. Ray hates eggplants, but he loves growing eggplants, and he seems to do a very good job of it, and I don't know why. Some people can't grow it to save their lives, and they love eggplants. I don't care for the flavor of eggplants, but I love growing them. I like watching them flower. I love watching the fruit, but the fruit doesn't go to waste. I give it away. So yeah, nothing goes to waste around here. I make sure that whatever food I don't want is going to go to somebody who can appreciate it, whether it's the chickens, goats, friends, family, it doesn't matter. The wildlife around here sometimes likes it. Anyway, the eggplant, this is the Black Beauty eggplant that I have on Little Shop of Seeds. I grew it last year out in the garden, and it didn't do so good because the Swiss chard just covered it like a palm tree. It was this huge thing with a stem about as big around as my wrist, and I've never seen Swiss chard do that before. So it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful, and yet I thought it would grow nicely next to its eggplant neighbor, yet it didn't. It didn't share the space. Those big leaves kept falling on it, shading on it. This became anemic. It produced good eggplants, but I think it could have done better. And this is one that was grown 100% indoors from the seeds that I have for Black Beauty eggplant, and yet without anybody interfering, no neighbor that wants to encroach on it. Check out what a plant can do indoors. I have the leafy side facing away from you. I just transplanted this not too long ago because it outgrew the cup. And eggplants are really cool. They behave a lot like a tomato plant, kind of like a cross between a tomato plant and a pepper plant, because they're not as wimpy as tomato plants, like as in falling over, but they're not quite as strong as pepper plants. Look at this. It's got a little sucker coming off the side, a new plant. The leaves are beautiful and strong. It's forking naturally. See? It is starting to fork, and it's going to have more growing tips. And I didn't pinch the top. Yep, this is one plant I did not butcher. And look at this. Look at the size of these leaves compared to my hand. This is one of them, and the color is striking too. Very healthy color. And see? Clusters of flowers are already starting to come out. Over here, and here's the first one. Look at that. Aren't they beautiful? Yep, and you can pollinate them by hand indoors, and you can get them to produce eggplant, actual fruit. And I'm going to do that here in the Voodoo Garden. I wanted to show you this because outdoor gardeners, they're always strutting their stuff and showing off all the stuff they grow, and rightfully so. If you're going to grow something and you do a good job, you do have the right to pat yourself on the back and say, look what I did a good job, because you did a good job. Us indoor gardeners can also do well, even though we have more restrictions than outdoor gardeners. There are so many things that you can do indoor gardening, patio gardening, not standard gardening. If you don't have any good light, look, this has never seen the light of day, only artificial lights, and it's doing well, and I'm going to harvest a decent crop. If I wanted to put this in a bigger pot, I would probably get a bigger plant. But remember, I mentioned I'm going to be getting stuff in the mail, and I need to grow it in here. So this is not a permanent member of the Voodoo Garden. I'm not going to grow it outside, but I'm not going to let it get huge. I could probably let this thing get about 5-6 feet tall, but I have other things that I really need the room for. And there's one last little thing in the Voodoo Garden. I'm going to spin around over here. Yep, hidden in the corner. She doesn't like to be noticed, but we'll drag her out anyway. She's back from the holidays. This is my holiday cactus. I put it in a larger pot. It was this little tiny thing in a shallow pot, remember that? And it produced all these flowers. And then I pollinated them. Here's a flower right here. I did this yesterday. See? You have the male and female parts here. All you have to do is pollinate it, get the pollen off the white, put it on the purple, and do this with all the flowers that come out. Look at this. All of these are flowers to be. It's going to be full by the next time you come in here to visit. And also, as it goes, see, it puts down little roots. I showed you how to take cuttings and root them, I believe, unless that was just on Facebook. But yeah, you can do that. You can take cuttings, shove them into the soil, and make new plants. Also, if you pollinate them, you were probably asking yourself, why would I want to pollinate these things? Well, they'll form fruit. Yes, this is actually from the last time it fruited around Christmas. Yep, this is what happens. The flower dies off and it leaves a fruit behind. There's another one right here. Most of them will not. On rare occasions you will, and it's a fun thing to do. There's another one in there. And I have a photo. I took one off, I sliced it in half, I took a really good photo, and I did a close-up shot of it. I'm going to put it at the end of this program to show you what the inside of these look like. Yeah, it's fascinating how beautiful they are. They have seeds inside. I don't know if they're edible. I don't want to find out by, popping one in my mouth and possibly dying before the program's over. But here, look. This is where, when I transplanted it, this was touching the soil. And you can see the roots are growing out of it. Yep. Christmas cactus, Thanksgiving cactus, Easter cactus, all of them basically the same when it comes to growth patterns, flowering, things like that. The flower colors may vary, but the growth pattern is going to be about the same. And look at how healthy this is. It's gotten a lot healthier since I transplanted it. It wasn't root bound, but it still will benefit from being transplanted and good care. Rich, well-drained soil, like I always say for just about everything, and you're going to do fine with this. Now there's also another thing I haven't shown you in a while, and I figure, what the heck? I just now thought of this. I'm going to swing over here. Remember the Easter lily? No, I'm sorry, the peace lily. My mistake. This was a big full plant in a big pot. Remember that? Well, off camera, I yanked that sucker apart. I went in there and I dug out about 75% of the plants because it was so full that the leaves were getting smaller and curled up and stuff. Remember how they were stressed? Well, what I did was, I'm going to stand up here and show you. I thinned it out. You can do that. Thin them out, yank them out. You can plant the parts that you yank out and get even more plants. But look, the new leaves have a beautiful bright green color. They're getting bigger than the older leaves down at the bottom. Here's the older leaves. Yep. See, the more plant you have, the smaller the leaves are going to get if it's compact. And these things will split and form new plants. Yep, they will. Like right over here. This one right here is forming more plants. Here's another plant right here. It's going to do another one. Oh, here's another one right here. Yeah, they do that so you can actually just dig down there, yank them out. It isn't going to hurt them. Put them into a new pot and make more room for other plants. Now I'm going to just do this really quick for you. It won't hurt the plant at all. I like to take a shovel, a little hand shovel, and go in there, but you can actually do this by hand. Ugh. See? Brand new plant coming out here. Put this in water. That's what I would do. I would put it in water for about maybe a week to 2 weeks, take off any dead leaves and let it root. Let the roots get a little healthy, then just shove it into soil about right up to here, just above the crown, and you're going to have a brand spanking new plant. Put it in another pot. It will eventually get like this one and form more and more and more all over the place in clusters. So one plant can eventually get you unlimited plants if you give it enough time and enough care. Rich, well-drained soil. Do not keep it wet. They hate being wet. They hate being dry. So let it dry out a little bit until it's dried. Give it a good watering and then let it dry out again. Never let any of your plants, no matter what type they are, sit in standing water. No plant that I have ever grown in the Voodoo Garden appreciates that. And, oh yeah, that's right. We're just going on a little walking tour. Why not? Remember the avocado that I wasn't able to grow? Yep, I changed the water and the leaves got better and it started growing even better. Look at that. I actually have a question coming on Weekend Edition, how to grow avocados. And finally, I can advise people on how to grow these. Yeah, this is 3 different parts growing out of one plant. If you want to hear about this, you'll have to tune in to an upcoming Weekend Edition on the Praxis 55712 channel. I can give you some tips on this. Yep, you too can grow an avocado. Well, I think I'm pretty much done for the day. Wasn't that fun? A little transplanting, a little advice, showing off, stuff, more stuff. It's Voodoo Garden time. And fresh yanked out plant. This plant probably doesn't like me too much, but it still smells pretty good. I'm going to put it in some water and see what it can do. Thanks for joining me. If you have any questions at all concerning indoor gardening, pop it in the comment section below. I will be glad to help you as much as I possibly can so that your Voodoo Garden is rich, growing, and giving you every bit as much pleasure as mine is giving me. Thanks everybody. Until next time, this is Ray and his little friends. We're out of here.